Today we are looking at the Bazi Chinese astrology forecast for President Donald Trump for the month of May, which is a snake month in a snake year. And things are starting to heat up, my friends. So welcome. My name is Lydia Griffith. This is the Feng Shui and Bazi Chinese astrology channel. On this channel, I often like to read the charts of famous people because I think it helps us to better understand our own lives and our own charts. So welcome. If this sparks interest for you, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell. I have found this year to be truly unique. I've never done weekly forecasts. I've never done daily forecasts on shorts like I've been recently doing. And I certainly haven't been tracking a month by month for anybody. But where the United States sits right now, there is a lot of, it feels kind of like the Tower card in Tarot. And as all these things are happening and we feel very destabilized, the tariffs are about to take full effect and we have no idea what it's going to look like. 2008, the Great Recession, worse, better, we don't know. But I will say this, that Donald Trump has a very unique chart. That being said, this is where the caution flag comes up. Please remember, I do my best to be objective here. This is a human being. We could be talking about the boss of a business that we work for. This could be, a colleague. This is not political commentary. This does not have opinion. When I get excited, sometimes it's not that I am in support or not support of someone, but rather that the astrology, the story itself is exciting. Just to make this clear, I'd like to be able to keep my comments open because I love hearing from you and I enjoy the dialogue, but it must be kind and it must be respectful. Why? Because that's how we got where we are, okay? By not being kind, respectful human beings, seeing each other as brothers and sisters. Amen to all that. So, Donald Trump, born June 14th, 1946 at 9:54. He has an Earth dominant chart, a Jalbird chart. He's got so many cracks. And I've talked about cracks. Cracks are where you're in your Bazi Astrology, your 4 pillars of year, month, day, and hour. The cracks show up when you have opposition and conflict that is hitting all parts of your chart. And when you are looking at someone, again, who is elderly, there is great pause and need for concern, okay? Now, the flight of Icarus keeps coming to my mind because the higher any of us rise, the more likely it is for you to be seen, heard, judged, condemned, vilified, and fall. I think one of the cautions of rising up, and that can be in status, in society, in your work, is if you allow your ego to convince you that you are just all that, you will make some pretty big mistakes in your life. I'm telling you, humility is a big deal. To rise up and then use your voice and your prestige, not to serve the self, ego, but rather to serve other. That's somebody I could get behind. So, I think most of us would agree with that. Because the ego is what fuels the word power. And power, I don't know that any of us need that. Ego-filled power. So Donald Trump, his chart is one of the most unique I've ever seen. As a person born in the month of June, the pattern of his chart is fire. He, in his day pillar, is a yin earth sheep. Interesting that the sheep is generally associated with peacekeeping, harmony, music, art, and innovation. The yin earth is a massive piece of this chart. And so the pattern is 42% fire in this chart, and his own element earth, what fire nourishes and feeds, is at 53%. So you are looking at a massive amount of energy focused on what fuels him and himself. It is a setup for someone to be very self-oriented. Everything is through their lens. There is hardly any metal, maybe 4%. There's no water. So the metal would be helpful because metal will drain all of that earth. It will help give it an outlet. Water isn't there. And wood is weak at 13%. The areas that I'm looking at for forecasting are his day and his hour. And the other thing too, there's so many layers to astrology, right? The month we're born, before the first luck cycle shift. We all go through these luck cycle shifts. As a little baby, we are in the month. When we become adults, most of our lives, we are in the day master. This just came to me as I am filming this right now with you. He is elderly. This means that he is more now in his hour. It is a yin earth snake. That is where his career sits, is with a snake. And I've talked about this a lot with these videos about him. And we're going to get to May in a second. Sorry, but I've got to build up the story to it so that it makes sense as best I can. In November 2023, he moved into a yang water tiger. Okay. Now, when you have an exceptional chart like his, it is safer to continue to reinforce the imbalance rather than attempt to balance a chart like this out. You cannot replace all the metal and water that this chart needs. It's just impossible. So the water and the wood are kind of seen as almost an affront. The tiger forms a semi-fire penalty that suggests lawsuits, loss of money, defamation, divorce, death, illness. I mean, just about anything and everything can go wrong depending on your particular situation. The tiger and the snake, which is again recognizing as an elderly man, him sitting in the hour, which is also his career. So this is a increasingly more personal semi-fire penalty. Now, that being said, we are now in a yin wood snake year. So now we have what is considered competition pressing two snakes together this year, 2025, his hour of the snake. So there's a competition here. But that snake of 2025 is also forming a semi-fire penalty with the tiger in his luck cycle. So we take these steps And the yin wood speaks of great challenge in his career. We're talking like, usually when I see this placement, especially for someone this age, I would say retirement, I would say unemployment, or something, some massive shift happening in your career that is going to elevate you up, down. You're either, demotion, promotion, all those sorts of things. Sitting on top of the snake, and the snake is yang fire, which for him is government and politics. It's also inside of that a revolution and a new role to play. So as he has this hidden identity shift, there's also a hidden shift and change and rebellion. And then there's the larger piece, which is government and politics. So for someone like this, in a position of power, it almost demands that how they lead and how they govern in their role is going to be, it's going to ask them to play a different role than they normally would play, and it would require of them to use rebellion, innovation, and somebody that comes in and changes the way things are. But the top of the hour, the stem, is yin earth, just like him. It's all about me. Because the stem is the action. It is what is the most seen. And that yin earth being him, it's like it is all about me and my followers, my people. For him, have you ever looked at the story of who Donald Trump is? It's very sad. If I were working with him, as I do spirit guide work when I host retreats from my home, I would see this as somebody with a really wounded inner child, bullied by his father, emotionally abandoned as a little boy by his mother. There was no room for failure. I can't imagine the pressure cooker that must have felt like inside of him. To grow up in a home where you could not be anything other than great. So we come to May 2025. What happened in April? We had a month of the dragon. The dragon is in conflict with his year of the dog. That was another crack. You see what I'm saying? Another conflict. It's another crack. Now, and all of these can be like hairline fractures. You move on. We've made it through April. We're now into May, the first days. And so we have a third snake for him. Because again, we have the year, now the month, and his hour. The yang metal sitting on top of the snake feels like an explosion. The detonation of something that explodes. Yang metal sitting on top of yang fire. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to talk about just his overall astrology for May. May runs, according to the Chinese calendar, from May 5th to June 5th. Okay. And again, come back for the June reading for his birthday. Because that parade, pretty wild. And I recently saw that there's going to be a welcome to the circus or some kind of marches all over the United States and protest of the the military march for his birthday. So this is what we call the equation, right? One person does one thing, another person reacts. So this is our reaction. If that's something that interests you, maybe you look it up. All right. So we've got this explosive situation for all of us collectively. And he now, someone with so much fire on earth. And when we think of fire, we think of mental health, circulation, things like heart attack, stroke, high blood pressure, emotionally volatile, super angry, and yeah. So as his chart is continually burning up, got to be very careful of his health. For someone like this, I would say go to the mountains. If I were looking at your chart and trying to ascertain the best way to ease or soothe such an imbalanced chart, I would send you to the mountains. Wood we don't actually want because wood just feeds the fire. And that's the situation this year with the yin wood. So for him, the yang metal is a revolution. It is massive change. It is like whatever he's been rolling out, this is like the grand, it's just gonna continue. One man, it's unstoppable. How is he so unstoppable? That's my question. How did we allow one person to have so much power? I don't know. It's fascinating to me. So there is a revolution, a rebellion, a innovation, all of his action this month is about change, about changing things. And the snake is just reinforcing his role in government and politics and the law. And the law. So, tucked inside the snake, so there's the greater picture, which is politics, law, government. And under that is the actualization, because there is the element of yang metal inside the snake. So it's on the stem and it's also inside the snake. This makes it's like, again, it's exploding, this change and rebellion coming out. And it's him seeing himself increasingly playing a role. And yeah, it could be a role of his own fantasy. Heck, I could dress up in a certain way and go out and say, I am now this. You or I, anybody could do that, right? Put on a persona. And whether that is, I'm a king, I'm a dictator, I'm your best friend, so glad you voted for me, but we don't know. What is that role for him? For him, what is that? The worst days are what I'm going to highlight. And I will honestly say, this is not my favorite thing to do, to highlight the negative. But I think in this situation, it's important to recognize these days for ourselves. Now, when I did the monthly read for May, you saw a lot of these days, and it's really reflected for him. We start with the 6th, which is today, the filming of this. It is a yin wood pig. It is a great challenge to his career. And the pig is the enemy of the snake. It is a tough day for all of us. The pig and the snake are arch enemies. It is yang water against yang fire. So this is hitting his career and himself because, again, I really think that he is now, as an elderly man, more sitting in his hour than in his day. The day, I think, still is a part of this, which is the next day, a yin fire ox on the 8th of May, I think is a Thursday. There is a yin fire ox. The ox not only is the enemy of his day of the sheep, it forms a full earth penalty with his dog in his year. This is a lot of earth energy. It's oppressive. And the earth penalty speaks of stress, intense levels of stress impacting your health. The 9th is a yang earth tiger, reinforcing his luck cycle of the tiger and forming a semi-fire penalty. We come to the 11th, a yang metal dragon, which is in opposition with his year of the dog. The 12th is a yin metal snake. This is the full moon, the full flower moon. This is, all of this is right around Mother's Day. And that full moon in Scorpio is bringing in a 3rd snake. This is extremely hot in his chart. The yin metal sitting atop the snake is, again, a dangerous situation. It's explosive. The 15th is a yang wood monkey, creating a full fire penalty with his luck cycle of the tiger and the 2 snakes, month, year, and his hour. This is like so much heat. And the 15th, on top of that, I think this is probably one of the worst days of the entire month for him, May 15th. It's a Thursday, I think. Yep. And I feel this in my heart, like in my chest as I'm thinking of this date. Thursday, May 15th. Yeah. And that full fire penalty is a danger zone for health, safety, reputation, lawsuits, being sued, all of that. The 20th is a yin earth ox. And again, we have that full earth penalty on the 20th. Opposition to his day of the sheep. Really tough day there. The 21st is a yang metal tiger. Again, it's a semi-fire penalty being reinforced. The 23rd, we have a yang water dragon, the enemy of his year of the dog. And the 24th is a yin water snake. Again, so hot, his chart. That little water sitting on top is just steam. The 27th is a yang fire monkey. This is another massive, massive day for him because not only is it a full fire penalty, but you have fire sitting on top of yang metal, and it is explosive in a month of a yang metal snake, which is yang metal on top of yang fire, kind of like the reverse here. So it is, this is, I would say probably the 15th and 27th are the most dangerous days for him. Then we have the 30th is a yin earth pig, which is the enemy of the snake. It's going to be very conflicted, very conflicted. The 1st of June, we have a full earth penalty again with an yin metal ox hitting his day of the sheep, year of the dog. So it is oppressive. His chart is so hot and dry. The 2nd of June is a Yang water tiger. So semi-fire penalty there. The 4th is a Yang wood dragon banging up against his dog. And we end the month with a snake. A yin wood snake, just like our year. The wood feeding all the fire. It is a really tough time this year for him. Bringing in more fire is just, it feels like it's just a tipping point. And yeah, stay tuned because my friends, this is heating up. And as we get again into June, it is going to get even more interesting, I think. He's got a big birthday coming up. Let's see how it goes. So, wishing us all well. If you don't like what's happening in your world, if you don't like what's happening in your community, your country, find causes that you can volunteer and get involved in. Be part of the change. And if you can't do that, start with just being kind and respectful and loving to yourself and the people in your life unconditionally. And I think through that, the simple act of being kind, respectful, and loving to everyone around you, that can change so much of the mood of our world. And so until next time, friends, please be well.